Good morning, everybody. Happy Sunday. I'm not trusting my connection here. I'm looking at my little counter and I'm waiting for it to reset. Happy Cinco de Mayo if you celebrate. Happy whatever. I don't even know. Don't we have a new moon coming up? We could say happy new moon. I know there's a bunch of astrological stuff happening, but I don't know. Okay, here we are. See, we went up to 15 seconds and started over again. I don't know, but here I am. Here you are. I'm happy to see you. Happy to be here with you. How's everyone doing today? I've had my coffee, plenty of coffee. Definitely feeling energy's really buzzy today. I did not need as much coffee as I normally do. I've talked about this, a few times I think during this series. Um, that really, my relationship kind of with everything right now in terms of coffee or stimulants or, whatever, just food in general, anything I'm consuming, like my body is very particular these days, which is fine. It's just a new thing. Like I really get this sense that there's this consciousness emerging that is so much clearer in terms of our body and our physical experience. I talked about it in yesterday's live for the May Ascension report. But my body is very, very clear, like what it likes, what it doesn't. Like there's no gray area these days. And this morning I had like a cup. I usually have 2 cups. I had 1 cup of coffee. I was like, okay, I'm feeling good. Like and like the second I took that sip of the second cup, my body was like, nope, that's too much. And I just kept drinking it anyway. So feeling a little zzz right now. How are all of you? What's going on? Like, share, and subscribe. I don't know. What am I supposed to say today? It's not that I'm feeling uninspired. I'm just feeling a little bit empty, and not in a bad way, not like an emo, Smashing Pumpkins way. Like empty, like good, like clear, like there's a lot of room, there's a lot of spaciousness. And I like that. I like that. But you know what I was thinking? Because we're here, this is what we have 3 more days after today. And for those of you who are new, if you'd like to join the conversation, you could the live stream conversation. You just have to be in subscriber mode. So that's how I have it set, so that we don't get the spam bots joining in our chat. So if you'd like to comment, be a part of the conversation, then you can just subscribe. Or if you're watching the replay, then feel free to comment. We've been talking about this What the WTF series has been kind of everything. We have been going through the full spectrum of topics, ideas, conversations, perspectives. And it's been a really, really interesting thing. And we have 3 days left. So, excuse me, what I'd like to offer here is, if you have questions, those of you who have been viewing this and participating, which I love, and we have like 3 remaining days. So we've got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday left. So if there are any questions that you have about anything that we've discussed in throughout this series, anything just sort of in general about, spiritual topics or perspectives, do your best to refrain from, asking for like a personal reading, because that's not really the function of this. This is more about like, sort of general ideas or topics or perspectives or understandings, or if you want insight on, an alternative way of looking at things, certainly you can offer like your own personal struggle or challenge. And, I can speak to the general nature of it. And so if that is interesting to you, if you'd like to do like a Q&A over the next 3 days, and not just only Q&A, but we can, sprinkle in some questions as we're wrapping this series up, feel free to email me. You can find in my channel here on YouTube, you can find my email address under like other information. And you can also just follow the Linktree link, which is in the description below. And there's a field there to email me through my Linktree. So if you are curious and have any curiosities, then please feel free to email me directly. Please don't put it in the comments here, because most likely I won't see it. And then we'll just, if I get questions, then we can address those over the next 3 days. If we don't get questions, that's fine. I can just run my trap about whatever. But if there are specific things, no, Pixie, that's fine. I love that question. We'll just take that. So Pixie saying, I am curious, how do you think what we eat or drink affects us in regards to our awakening, for lack of a better word? That's a great question. My perspective is it's more about your relationship with what you're eating or drinking than what you are eating or drinking, right? It's not so much, yeah, certainly what you put in your body absolutely plays a part. I'm not going to deny that it does. And how you feel about the things that you're eating and the reason you are consuming them and your belief around specific foods and the vibration of foods and the health, the value, nutritional value or whatever of foods. It's about your relationship. It's about your belief system. I see this a lot. There seems to be this belief in a lot of spiritual ideology that somehow being vegetarian or being vegan is the only way to be spiritual. In fact, I often see it's this very sort of holier than thou attitude of like, oh, you poor meat eater. Oh, good luck getting through the gates of heaven. Girl, stop. Stop. There is no law anywhere that says a specific diet is right or wrong, good or bad for everybody. It is impossible to say that one diet will be a successful diet and give all of the needs that all 8 billion of us have. That's just ridiculous. That's ridiculous. I'm a lazy vegetarian. I'll say that. I do my best to minimize my animal protein. I do my best to eat a plant-based diet. When I do consume animal protein, I do my best to buy organic, grass-fed, free range, like as humane an experience for the animal as can be. But I do not believe that there is a right or wrong diet. There's what's right for you and that's what's wrong for you. So this idea that one diet is holier or better or more spiritual than another is just completely and totally and patently false. That's just your delusion telling you. That's your ego. Anything that tells you that you're better than another for your choices, that's all ego, babe. 100%. If you believe that you are superior because of what you do or do not eat, you are coming 100% from your ego. Hate to break it to you. So, what I do in terms of what I eat, I pray over my food every single time before I eat it. I say a prayer of gratitude. I ask for it to be elevated to its highest possible form so that as I consume it, it may also elevate and transmute my form. I believe that intention is really, really crucial when it comes to our diet and it comes to our food. I believe that our conversation with our bodies about what the body wants and what the body needs is a really important, integral part of our wellness in terms of our physicality and the things that we consume. I do believe that there are, certain foods that are a little bit higher in vibration, that are a little less dense, but density isn't necessarily a bad thing when it comes to food. Your body has specific needs. Your body is also going through its own spiritual journey. So your body is going to need what it needs and want what it wants when it does. And it's our job to do the best we can to honor what the body is asking for. There's a lot of crazy stuff out there. Like the power of the mind over the body is real. There are documented cases of deeply, deeply religious, like evangelical tent revival, cutting the head off chickens kind of churches in the deep, deep South. And there are documented cases of these people having such a strong faith in the power of their religion or Jesus or God or whatever it is that they feel that they're connected to. They can drink poison and not get sick. They can get snake bites and not get sick. So the power of the mind over the body is very, very real. It's very, very real. Anything that I can do, like Eileen said, grow your own food if you can. Like for me, reclaiming my sovereignty over my diet, which I've always had a very, what's the word I'm looking for? I feel I've always had a very healthy relationship with my body and the food that I consume. But there's still this idea of sovereignty and food sovereignty. And so for me, growing my own food, not only do I know exactly what it is that I'm putting in the ground and what it is that I'm putting in my body. I know exactly what it is that is in the ingredients, and it's not a list. Why is a bottle of ketchup have this many ingredients? Why I just make my own, right? So what I have found myself really moving into is being very, very focused on creating a world where I can feed myself as much as possible. So a lot of gardening, a lot of cooking, a lot of baking, a lot of preserving. Last summer, well, not last summer, but the summer before when I was gardening a lot here, I loved, like, the most amazing thing was when I could go out and pick my lunch or my breakfast and make a meal and say, like, every single thing on this plate I made, right? I made the bread, I made the cream cheese, I made the salad, I made the pie or the veggie or whatever it is that I make. And I just think that it's important that you listen to your body. That's what I think the most important thing is listen to your body and what it's asking for, because what the mind wants and what the body needs are often two very, very different things. And I talked about this recently, eating for the mind versus eating for the body. Eating for the body is giving the body what it wants. And the body's needs are always quite simple. It's usually one or two words: sleep more, drink more, eat less, move faster, rest more, move less, slow down, stretch. So, the body has very, very simple needs. And I find that when I'm eating for the body, then afterwards I feel satisfied, I feel fulfilled, I feel energized, even if I only ate a little bit, or even if it was even a heavy meal, but my body was actually craving, like, it feels fantastic. When I'm eating for the mind, I'm eating for insecurity, I'm eating for stress, I'm eating for comfort, I'm eating for fear, I'm eating for avoidance, I'm eating to numb out, whatever. And when I'm eating for the mind, I almost never feel satisfied. I almost never feel fulfilled after. I almost always feel a little deflated and depleted, like, oh, that wasn't what I wanted. So the mind is using its mechanism of telling you you're hungry. And it's interesting. The next time you think you're hungry, stop for a second and really listen to your body. Is your body actually asking for food, or is your mind just asking for some neurochemicals that, the carbohydrates or the sugar are going to give it? So I think it's really important to get clear for yourself. Do your research, do your homework, look into alternative diets, alternative lifestyles, alternative ways of eating, of growing food, and find what works for you. That has always been my approach. Is I listen to people who know more than I do, or I listen to people who inspire me, or that I aspire to be like them in a specific way. Like, wow, look at them. Their diet is so clean. They're in great health. They look amazing. What are they doing? And then I take what works for me, and then I make my own recipe. So, if anyone is out there looking for perhaps a healthier or more conscious relationship with their body, it's a process, but I can offer you a couple of tools that I have used. So, a couple of ways you can connect with your body. Number one is through meditation. And I just call this the body meditation. And I visualize in my mind that I'm sitting at a table, and across from me is an empty chair. And in my meditation, I just call forward my body, the consciousness of my body. And sometimes it looks like my body. Sometimes it's just a being of light. Sometimes it's just, energy or whatever. But, I set the intention that I am going to connect with my body. And then I ask my body, hey, what do you need? And then I receive that insight and information. There's another way I do it, and that's through a journaling exercise. And so you get your pen and paper. It's better if you do handwriting. There's something very powerful about actually analog, old-fashioned pen and paper. Sit down and write a letter to your body. If you have a specific issue, like my example, when I had that frozen shoulder for about 8 years and I couldn't lift my arm above 45 degrees, how I started to unravel what was going on was just by sitting down and having a dialogue with my body. So you can do this journaling exercise for specific body issues, or just a general building a relationship with your body. And it goes like this: you sit down, close your eyes, find that space of connection, and then just start to write like you're writing a letter to your body. Dear body, hey, it's Amar on May 5th, Cinco de Mayo, blah, blah, blah. This is what's going on. This is what my problem is. This is what I'm feeling. These are my thoughts, or whatever. And then when you feel like you've written your message, when you feel like you've shared what you want to share, then pause. Take another breath and just switch modes. Just tell yourself, okay, now I'm going to write from my body's perspective. This is the key. Set a timer on your phone for at least 10 minutes. It can be more than 10, but no less than 10, because it takes a few minutes for this process to really kick in. And you're giving yourself the 10 minutes for two reasons. Number one, so that you have enough time to really fall into the actual automatic writing. Number two, so that you have a boundary. So if your inner skeptic or your resistor or your Judge Judy, who just loves to roll her eyes like a annoyed teenager, says, oh, this is stupid. What are you doing? The body doesn't blah, blah, blah. You can tell, like, look, babe, you don't have to believe this. You don't even have to enjoy this, but we're doing this until the timer goes off. So you can sit down and be quiet. And if you can't sit down and be quiet, then here, there's a cookie, and go in the corner. And so then you just write until the timer goes off, and you write from your body's perspective. This is the key. So you're responding from your body's perspective to your letter, and you're saying, oh my God, dear self, thank you so much for writing to me. I have so much to tell you. I have so many things to ask you. I really, really want to know, or this is what I need, or this is what I want. I did that daily for a period of probably a couple of months. And as I was rebuilding my relationship with my body, I also started to take my body with me. I know that sounds funny, like, well, when would you not take your body with you? But what I'm talking about is like grocery shopping. I used to take like consciously, and it took a long time. I mean, I was in the grocery store sometimes for upwards of an hour. So you may not want to do this, but I was committed because, like I said, I couldn't lift my shoulder any higher than this for like 8 years, and I had had it. I would go to the grocery store, I would have my list, and every single thing on my list, I would pick it up. Okay, do I want this? My mind says yes. But what does my body feel? And I would touch the food, and I would think about eating, and then I would listen to what the body is doing. Does my stomach hurt? Does the body feel like it's doing this? Does the body feel open and receptive and like, yes, 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 let's do that? When I've shared this story about the watermelon. Like, I was in the summer and I was in this process and I was craving cold and sweet. So I was like, ooh, I want ice cream. So I went to the store and I was about ready to pull the ice cream, and something flickered. And I was like, oh, the body doesn't want that. Maybe there's something the body wants to say. So I tapped in and I was like, okay, what's going on? I want the ice cream. Is that not what you want? And the message I got was, cold and sweet sounds good, but how about watermelon? Yes, Pixie, the watermelon. And so I said, okay, watermelon, bought watermelon, took it home. When I'm telling you that this watermelon was like a full body orgasm, I am not fucking kidding. Listen, kids, I used to rave hard in the 90s with MDMA and ecstasy. And this was like the clinical, medicinal, like pharmaceutical grade MDMA that we used to get. This was not the dirty stuff you get on the street these days. So I know what a body orgasm feels like. I know what ecstasy feels like. That watermelon put any fucking ecstasy experience I had had in the 90s to shame. When I tell you that every single cell in my body was like, hallelujah, fuck yes, rejoice, more of this, please. I'm not kidding. I am not kidding. It was ecstatic. So that is how I know now what my body wants and what it doesn't. Do I always listen? No. Do I do my best to do better than I did yesterday? Yes. But once you understand what the body needs and how to access that layer of information, and once you understand that the body's needs are always simple, I'd say if it's more than like 10 words, it's probably not the body. It's probably the ego or the mind or a program. So there's my spiel on diet and what we consume. Because here's the thing, and we could take this even a little bit further. What you consume is not just food. What we consume are beliefs. What we consume is information. What we consume is data and pictures and imagery and symbology from, reading things or watching things or listening to things. What we consume is what we hang out in, right? If we're soaking in a pool of a specific energy or a specific vibe, at some point it is going to start to kind of rub off on us. So being mindful at all levels about what you are consuming is so crucial. And it can begin with your food, but also let that expand into what you watch, what you read, what you listen to, who you pay attention to, what you allow to run unchecked within your mind. These are all ways that we consume. There's another piece to this, that our bodies and our systems were not designed necessarily to consume the amount of information that we do without a phase of processing. We consume more content in a day than most of our ancestors consumed in a lifetime. So we need to give ourselves days to process. We need to give ourselves days to assimilate and integrate. So it's important when you're feeling like, I don't want to be online, I don't want to be on Instagram, I don't want to be on social media or my phone or whatever, or any digital stuff at all. Heed that message. Shut the computer off. Go for a walk without your phone. Stand outside and get some natural light. There's also this other stuff that we're seeing now with all the blue light that our eyes receive from so many of the LED technology. It actually is having a diminishing effect on our eyesight because we need a full spectrum. We need a lot of red frequency, and we don't get any red frequency from watching these screens. That's why I have, you can see it, I don't know. That's why I have a rose tint on all of my glasses, because I want to block some of that blue frequency. So there's just a million different ways that we can move around it. But just what it all comes down to is trust what your body's saying. Trust what the body, like there's some music that I listen to, and there's people that I just don't like their vibe. I don't like their energy. I don't like their music. I listen to their music and I literally get creeped out. It's like heebie jeebies, creepy crawlies in my body. So I don't listen to that. I don't listen to that. And there's actually experiments that have been done for a long time about frequency and sound and what it can do to the human body and the human mind. They did a lot of this research during World War II in Nazi Germany. There was a whole series of experiments and studies dedicated to how we can manipulate individuals and their frequency and their moods through music. So there's so much. I mean, this is a rabbit hole we could spend days in, but just suffice it to say, you are what you watch, you are what you eat, you are what you allow, you are what you include, you are what you focus on. All of those things are an aggregate of the vibration and the frequency that you emanate. There's also another side of this. Don't make yourself crazy. Don't go overboard. Start small, be deliberate, and be slow. This is, I think, one of the most successful and effective ways that we can make change in our lives is by doing it incrementally. When I smoked for, God, probably like 20 years total, off and on. And there was a period where I quit smoking for like 5 or 6 years. And the way that I did it, I mean, I finally quit about 10 years ago, but there was this sort of, I quit once before. And I did it just by slowly dialing down. I would say, okay, no cigarettes. So I usually would get up at like 6 o'clock when I was living in New York, 6 a.m. And then I would have my first cigarette after breakfast, so like 10 or 11. I was never a super hardcore smoker, and I mostly smoked at night when I drank. I didn't really like smoking during the day, especially in the morning. I had a boyfriend who he's lit up a cigarette while he was still in bed in the morning. And that was just so gross to me. Like sleeping in a bed that smells like cigarettes. I was like, I don't know if we can do this. Anyway, I digress. So what I started saying was, okay, no cigarettes before 8 a.m. That was easy. So for a week, I did not smoke before 8 a.m. The next week, it was no cigarettes before 9 a.m. And then the next week, 10 a.m. and then 11. So over the course of several months, I finally got to the point where I wasn't having any cigarettes until like 7 or 8 at night. And then I got to the point where I was having one cigarette a day. I would have one cigarette at night before I went to bed. That served me for several years. And then I just quit altogether. So my point here is, anytime you're making change, especially when you're involving the body, and especially when you're involving the mind in a pattern of behavior that has been established, i.e. an addiction, give yourself a break and do it incrementally. Do it slowly. I see this all the time. I'm never eating sugar again. And then you wipe the entire house out of sugar. You're fine for 2 days. And then you freak the fuck out and you just go buy a pound of white sugar and just eat it in the car with a spoon. So let yourself do it slowly. Let yourself do it a bit at a time. Set a realistic goal. Set a reasonable goal. Make it something that you can achieve easily. When I make a to-do list, the first thing I do is I write, make a to-do list, and then I make the rest of my list. And then immediately when I finish that list, I can cross off, make a list, because it's a little bit of a cheat. I know it's silly, but it kind of tricks my mind into going, ooh, I got that little hit of serotonin. I accomplished something. I checked off my list. So so let's say if we're doing that with the phone, Eileen, or chocolate pixie, and you're like, oh my God, I get on my phone first thing in the morning. If you wake up at 7, then say, okay, no phone time before 7:30. Give yourself a half an hour. Figure out when you normally eat chocolate. If it's 4 in the afternoon, say, okay, no chocolate until after dinner at 6 or 7 or whatever. Just make it tiny, make it easy, make it simple. Don't make it this giant thing that you have to completely 180 yourself, not 360. If you do a 360, you just go back to where you started. 180 is doing the pivot. So there you go. There you go, King Master Lord. Smoking when you can't, like that was also a way that I used to force myself to quit, was smoking when I didn't want to, and it grossed me out. And then I would be like, oh God, it makes me so sick and I wouldn't want to. So there's a million different ways to do it. But I have found that slow, incremental, consistent change, and also celebrating my change at the end of the day, like giving myself a pat on the back and a little like, okay, I did it today. I did it. I held my ground. I made my goal. I achieved it. I crossed the finish line of that day. So celebrate that because achievements are real. And I think our mind and our body want to know that they're helping us. And so we celebrate with them. Good job, self, for not giving in. Good job, mind, for not caving in, or whatever the thing is. Exactly. Because if we think about it, what is a life? It's just a string of moments. So, this idea that anything is more important than another, maybe sure in the moment, maybe sure we attach more value or meaning to specific experiences and occurrences, but overall, a life is just a moment to moment experience and we string them all together and we call that history. So, go easy on yourself. Go easy on yourself. Just little steps at a time and something that's manageable. And also walk that knife's edge of pushing yourself a little, right? Don't let yourself fall into complacency. Push it just a little bit, right? Do one more rep than you thought you could. Wait one more minute before you smoke that cigarette or whatever, right? So giving yourself parameters that make sense to you. And the most important thing is understand your why. Why do I do this? Because of how I think it'll make me feel. And why do I want to stop doing it? Because of how I think that will make me feel. That's why you want it in the first place. So focus on the feeling, focus on the vibe and the energy, and remind yourself it's not about quitting smoking, it's about being healthier. It's not about changing my diet, it's about making choices that my body feels better about. Right? You can find a way to couch it in the affirmative that supports you in your choice rather than put you in a cage match with cigarettes or chocolate or food or whatever the thing is. How's that? I think that's good for today. So I'm good, Pixie. I'm glad this helped you. So, again, if you would like to offer questions or send me a question or something you would like me to comment on or talk about, feel free to email me directly. There's a Linktree bio in the description below that has a form in it for you to email me directly. You can also find my email here on my account. And feel free to just send me a question. I'm happy to talk about it. If it's something that I feel I can talk about, I won't be able to talk about everything. Some things I just may not have an opinion on or may not know enough about to feel comfortable riffing on it. But if you have questions or are curious about things, feel free to email me. And we've got 3 days left. So we've got Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday remaining for this series. And we'll see what we can get to in the next 3 days. Thank you, everybody. As always, if you bought my book, Notes from the Higher Self, thank you. It's available on Amazon. You can leave me a review, a testimonial if you purchased it, because that really helps bump me up to the top of the pile. Links are in the description for booking sessions. You can find me on Instagram at Amar Energy. Donation links if you want to share some financial love are down there too. See you tomorrow. Same channel, same time. Mwah. Love you all. Happy Sunday.